I learned I have to be super tight on the details, and franchising is all about the details. You know, some of us have a appetite for risk. So I love to take out the obstacles and the roadblocks and get right to being as profitable as possible. You know, I'm into building generational wealth. Like I want, you know, me to be wealthy, my kids to be wealthy, and my kids' kids to be wealthy, and my kids' kids' kids to be wealthy based on the work that I've put forth.
All right, so I've got some bitter news that I need to tell you, and then we're going to hop into our guest. So this will be the second to last episode of the Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast. I know. I'll make a separate video explaining why. In the meantime, I am excited to share that I will be launching the Franchise Empire Show here soon. So we're going to feature interviews of individuals who are building a franchise empire. So they could be franchisees, franchisors, or more. Now, those episodes are not going to be on this YouTube channel. Those episodes are going to be on our new YouTube channel called the Franchise Empire Show. So the link will be in the description below for you to go subscribe to that channel to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Our first episode will air on May 13th, 2023. So go subscribe now. Now, to our epic guest, who is building a franchise empire himself, David Wescott's companies have completed over $60 million in construction projects. $60 million. And he's the CEO of Evergreen Brands, which holds his companies Transblue General Contractors, Transblue Franchise Company, and Condo Shield. And Dave is a serial entrepreneur who has become a personal friend. We actually met at a men's event where we hit it off, and Dave was nicknamed King David for his leadership and strong presence among the group. So I'm excited to introduce you to Mr. David Wescott. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. All right, everyone, I'm here with Mr. David Wescott, which we had some cool experiences together. But David, man, it's good to see you on here.
It's good to see you too, man. How's the weather down there? No hurricanes?
Thankfully, no hurricanes. Yes, it's actually been kind of cold here, which is nice. Nice surprise for Orlando, okay. But actually today's 80-something degrees.
That's a beautiful thing. I'm going to be honest. I love the 80 degrees weather. I think it's like 32 or 33 here is frigid, man.
Oh, does not sound fun. Well, I'm excited to talk to you. So, you know, what's cool is that David and I met at a men's event that we did and hit it off. It was a really amazing experience, and it was just funny because we just so happened there was an exercise where we were talking about business stuff, and I don't remember who said the word franchise, but one of us did, and I think you did, and I was like, hold on, what? You were like, yeah, I'm a franchisor. I'm like, you're a franchisor? What? Like, we've spent the last 2.5 days together, and I had no idea. So tell everyone about your franchise business. I do want to talk about your other businesses because you're a serial entrepreneur.
Sure.
But tell us about your franchise business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. And you know what? That was a fun little event that we were at. And I think the thing that I took away from that event was the details matter. And, you know, every little detail. And you remember we were, you know, running some bags back and forth, and, you know, the zipper had to be closed, and the zipper had to be closed all the way. It didn't matter if it was a 1/2 inch, a 1/4 inch, or an 1/8 of an inch, or you had to do the exercise again. And I took away from that, like, one of the times my bag got pulled out as being wrong, and I thought, oh man, I always do my details perfect, but they weren't there. And so, you know, I learned I have to be super tight on the details, and franchising is all about the details. And so my business, franchising, where I'm the franchisor, is Transblue. We're a general contractor. And so we franchise construction services. And so what that means is that, you know, anytime a client is looking at putting in a backyard patio, or maybe a new driveway, or maybe remodeling their home or something like that, you know, that franchisee is going to dive into that kind of business. And what I know about construction is the details matter. It doesn't matter if you're following processes, or you're cutting 2x4s, or you're laying pavers. The details matter. And so that's the business I'm in. It's a little bit unique with the fact that, well, I'm sure that everybody tells you that it's unique, but it's a little bit unique in the fact that we use subcontractors for all the work. So we just have super small offices, super small teams, and just executing, jobs for clients. So that's a little bit about, what we do and so forth. And I just wanted to tie that together with the details matter, because I think in franchising, like for me, that's the whole game right there.
Man, that is such a good point. And you reminding me of that exercise, because there was actually, I think there was twice where my zipper was open a little bit and we had to run again because my zipper was open. I felt terrible because I think once or twice, like I was the only person, and it was like, we would have passed if it wasn't for me. I think there were always...
I'm surprised I'm even on this call.
Oh, man. Well, what's something that I got out of that exercise, now that you mention it, is they talked about, and this showed up recently for me, and so anyone who has a business right now, actually, if you communicate with people, which means everyone qualifies, this applies, which is, it's not your responsibility to understand me. It's my responsibility to be understood.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. It is. If the information is bad and the execution is bad, it's on you.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened recently.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough. Yeah. Yeah, it happened recently with my team where it was like, oh yeah, I didn't give clear guidance, so why would I have expected them to fully understand? I didn't. So it's interesting in business. Cool, man. So you're a franchisor, and you have a bunch of other businesses too. You're like a serial entrepreneur. Do you classify yourself as that?
You're the first one, but I do get it. I do get involved in a lot of different. I mean, I think like as an entrepreneur, and for a franchisee who's looking to start a business, or somebody who's looking to start a business, like no matter where you're at, I think you start in one place, but as you grow in business, doors open and you meet different people and you learn new things. And some of us have a appetite for risk, right? And so like at the end of the day, we look at something and I think, like I look at shiny objects and I get attracted to them. And so I'm like, oh, that looks cool, I should do that. And then I'm like, oh, that looks cool, I should do that. And so that's basically how those things start. It's like, oh, that's a cool way to do it. And I'm always looking to make money, and I'm always looking to make money as easy as possible. I'm looking for the easiest path to profit. And so like if I'm hanging out with you or, anybody else, like I'll say, oh man, that's really cool, you're doing that. That's an easy way to profit. I love that. So I love to take out the obstacles and the roadblocks and get right to being as profitable as possible. And you've probably heard the expression before, but I love mailbox money. So anything that provides reoccurring income, that's a stable type of business, I enjoy that. I love that because that just pays the bills and it builds wealth. And, I'm into building generational wealth. Like I want, me to be wealthy, my kids to be wealthy, and my kids' kids to be wealthy, and my kids' kids' kids to be wealthy based on the work that I've put forth. And so that's basically why I'm a serial entrepreneur, is because I'm just really driven that way. And it's my passion too. Like, right. I don't want to take Saturday off. I don't want to take a break. I want to keep grinding. I want to keep working. To be honest, I don't want to be on the beach. I want to be working. Like that's just who I am. Yeah,
man. And so you've had you've built an incredibly successful business empire. So I want to jump back on that point you were just making around kind of making money easy and profiting as quickly and easily as possible. But will you just paint like a 30-second picture of your overall kind of business empire and credentials, so to speak, so that people can experience your message from a different lens, knowing what you've created and done?
Yeah. So I've been in business for myself for 26 years. And, on that path, I've created a company called Evergreen Brands, and that's my holding company that kind of holds everything together. And under that, I have the Transblue franchise, which is the franchising piece of the business. And then I have W Business Solutions, which is my construction side of the business, which is national. I operate in all 50 states and 8 provinces in Canada. And so that's that piece. And then I own a business called Condo Shield, which is condominium management. And then I own a call center called Blue. And then I own a design company called Bounding Elk Designs. And then I own a real estate holdings company that owns real estate from Seattle to Massachusetts to Texas. So just all over the United States. And so that's basically what I do. I build businesses and then, I've got people who run them and put them in place. And then I buy real estate. And so that's kind of the 50,000 foot view of who I am.
That's incredible. So not only can I call you a serial entrepreneur, but I can call you a business magnate.
I do okay.
Oh, I'm going to come up with all sorts of cool nicknames and sayings for you, David, King David.
So I get multiple emails a week from companies asking to run ads on the podcast. I could have ads if I wanted to, but I don't. So there are two ways that you can help to support me and the podcast to keep it ad-free. First is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment, even a smiley face if you have nothing to say. The YouTube algorithm only shows the video to more people based on the likes and comments on the video. So your comment could help someone get exposed to this, and not to sound too cheesy, but it could legitimately change their life. Lastly, go ahead and share this with someone that you think will enjoy this episode. Maybe someone who you know loves business and entrepreneurial stuff, or maybe it's someone who's been saying that they want to own their own business for forever. You can message it to them directly or share it on your social media. It would mean the world to me. You guys rock. Enjoy.
So I'd love to tie back what you were saying to a tangible example so that the folks listening can understand. So you're saying, okay, when I go into a business or when I'm trying to set this up, I'm looking for a way to profit and set it up so I can make money easily. Can you give an example that maybe just pops in your head of how you've done that recently in one of your businesses and kind of how you took that mindset and applied it strategically?
So I'll talk about, just franchising the franchise business because it's pretty applicable. So when I look at construction services, when you think about it, you think, okay, I own a construction business, and that means that I own a bunch of tractors and a bunch of excavators, and I own a bunch of trucks, and I've got a bunch of employees, and it's kind of a dirty business, right? And so, that all comes with a ton of overhead. Like you look at some of the successful construction companies out there, and they'll show you like their office, which is a big warehouse, and then they'll show you a row of their fleet with like 200 vehicles, okay? And so I look at that and I say, that's a waste of money. And so what I want to do is I want to eliminate all of those, because if I'm going to remodel a house or I'm going to remodel a Walmart, it doesn't matter. I've got to take X amount of guys, 4 to 6 guys. I've got to put them on the job site. I've got to get them there with trucks. I've got to buy equipment. I've got to buy materials. I've got all of this expense. So what I did was I said, okay, if I subcontract out every single piece that I do, and maybe it's multiple subcontractors, whatever, and I have one project manager who manages those subcontracted projects, what I've done is I've just eliminated all the labor. And we know that in the construction industry, the number one issue that guys have is labor, right? And the other industry issue is that people aren't getting into the trades like they were 10, 20 years ago, right? So all of these guys are retiring out of the trades. So instead of owning a business where I have to go find all this labor and buy all this equipment and buy all these trucks, basically all I need to do is be really good at marketing, be really, really professional, go sell a job, hire a project manager who has the skills and the ability to manage the construction work from the industry. And what I find is that project manager on average can manage 8 projects simultaneously. And so what that does is that maximizes what I get out of that project manager, and it reduces the spend, and it makes me more profitable on the side with the company, right? And I don't have all the employee issues. I don't have all the time cards to manage. I don't have any of that. And so that makes me more money, and that makes me more profitable. And I don't have all the headaches either, right? So that's one simple way in which I'm looking to just shorten the gap, right? And not self-perform, but subcontract out the work. And that project manager just gives you an incredible experience. And the other thing that I find is that most contractors, right, they aren't great people. Aren't great people, right? They're great people, just they aren't good at the communication side. They can master the task. Like they might be the best tilers and the best painters and the best carpenters, but they lack that great, communication skill. And so what we bring to the table is really that great communication skill for the client, give them an amazing experience. That takes the burden off the contractor. So it really becomes a win-win for all parties, and the client gets an excellent execution on their work that they've hired us for. So that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah, that's it's such a cool business model, and it's something that I started to notice about entrepreneurs, and it makes sense that you have that mindset and you built such a business empire, is that it's what I call almost like the speed of execution, right? From like having an idea to then being able to implement and execute on it quickly. And so it sounds like that's intertwined, right? Because if someone's out there thinking like, oh, construction business seems like something that's like I could make money, and then they go, oh, but I have to have this, and I have to have this, and they get all these thoughts, and they're like, all right, well, I'm not doing that business. But then on the other side, you got folks like you who go, no, actually, there's an easier way to do it, where you could really theoretically get involved in the business with very little amount of capital, right? Because at the end of the day, you just got to go secure the job and the contractors, and you're playing matchmaker and manager, right? Project manager.
Yep. You nailed it. And it simplifies the process, right? Basically, you take all that stuff out of the middle, and you make it really easy to be able to execute. And a lot of times, man, you take the pain out, right? Because a lot of the time, I mean, in the construction industry is the pain of managing the employee, right? And so we've reduced that. And now as an entrepreneur, I figured out a long time ago that I only wanted to work with people I liked. And some people might like that, might not like that, but I want to work with people that I love to hang out with, because I'm going to spend the majority of my life at work. I'm going to spend more time at work than I am with my family. And so what I love about what we've been able to create is that, you hire 3 or 4 people that you work with, you build relationships with them, they become your friends, they become your pals. And it's not like, you go to work at this corporate environment, you just work with a couple of people. And that's a really fun thing to do, because you can go out to lunch, you go to the ball game, whatever, and it becomes a better experience for you as an entrepreneur, as an owner. When you have a multitude of employees and staff members, that can really wear you down. Payroll wears you down, right? When you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got 60 guys out here and we're working on 20 jobs, and I've got to make payroll, and it's $400,000. You're just like, you don't sleep at night. But when one project manager manages 8 projects, and, now, you've only got 3 people to pay, you're going to make payroll. And so that just reduces the stress that you go into life with. Like, you can actually kick back and enjoy an evening versus stressing about equipment payments and guys and all of that. And that's part of it too, right? Like, we want to shorten the gap, but we want to live a high quality of life, because life is short. And no matter what we build, nobody's going to remember it, right? 100 years down the road, 50, it's gone. So let's build this business, but let's also have an awesome life too. And so those are the 2 things that I really try to focus on, is shorten the gap and have an awesome life.
Yeah. Man, it's so important, right? Because it's all about the journey and the destination. Rather than the destination, if you're not having fun and enjoying the ride, what's the point? And entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster ride. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. That's an interesting point, because actually the current business that I've built, my online business, I'm just really thinking about it now. I've utilized kind of that contractor system where I've hired, freelancers and contractors that are experts in their space, right? Whether my video editor, whether my social media person, copywriter, my operations director, and it makes it more manageable to manage the labor cost, which is pretty interesting. So that's a really cool model. I'm curious, David, what do you see as how many franchisees do you have right now?
I think there's maybe 15, 16 in the system, something like that.
Okay, cool. What do you see, what makes a successful franchisee? Because, and I want to provide some color to that question. in every franchise system, there are top performers and there are mediocre performers, right? And so what I always tell people is when they're vetting a franchise opportunity, it's like, if there are enough people that are doing well in the franchise system works. The profit potential is there. The intangible is the individual, right? So what you see as the difference between the franchisees that are really successful and that, create a great business?
Yeah, you know what, man? That is a great question, and I think that is a question that everybody who's in franchising thinks about. I mean, every single person sits around that room and says, "How do they make franchisees more successful?" But what I truly believe that it comes down to is that the person who purchases the franchise, one, they understand what they're getting themselves into. It's not necessarily about, in my mind, about the FDD and all of the legal requirements. It's, do I understand how this business operates? And do I understand what success looks like? And do I understand what it's going to take me to get there? Because I can say quality of life, but business is tough. In every single business that I've ever had, been involved with, it's tough. Every franchisee who's in every business will tell you it's tough, right? So understanding what the things are that are going to be difficult are, and then understanding how to mitigate those challenges is really, really important. And then understanding why the processes are in place and why they need to be executed a certain way is really important. Like, for example, when I was a kid growing up, my mom never told me, my teachers never told me why math was important. But when I got into construction and had to use, length times width equals, or the circumference of a circle is X, like, I was like, if somebody would have told me why this was important when I was 10, I'd be a freaking genius right now. Now I'm going to learn it again, right? So, like, it's understanding why those things are important. And then really, I believe it's getting out of your own way, because so many guys in the business, like, if they have 3 or 4 guys or 10 guys, whatever, they want to jump in and solve all the problems. But a lot of times they're not the best salesperson. They're not the best operations people. And so you really have to focus on who is in your business. And you really have to hire the right people. Harvard Business Review says 44% of the businesses that failed because of the wrong people, right? And so when we look at those statistics, when we look at those numbers, I'm going to come into the business. I need to understand the challenges. I need to understand the benchmarks. And from there, I need to put the right people in the right seats. And you hear that, that's so cliche. Everybody talks about it all the time, but it's so key, because you can have people in your business who make your business amazing, right? Me, I don't want to deal with upset customers. I don't want to deal with that. Do I have them? Yes. I don't want to deal with them. So what I need to do is hire somebody who's really good at dealing with those upset customers and making them happy, and they don't get burnt out with the negativity. Now, once you fill that role, boom, now it's like, I love my business again, right? And so, like, as we go through that, who am I putting in? Who's going to run my business for me? And I'll just kind of finish it up with this. I'm sure you've seen the Shark Tank. And one of my favorite guys on there is Mr. Wonderful, right? And I was watching the Shark Tank probably a decade ago. And I was sitting there and I was watching the Shark Tank, and Mr. Wonderful gets on one of his tangents about how he's telling this business they're dead. He's like, your business is dead. Put a fork in it, throw it out the back window. And he goes on this kind of this tangent where he says, you know what? My businesses always failed. He said, I failed and I failed and I failed and I failed and I failed. And he said, I had these really good ideas and I made a whole bunch of money, but I could never execute. And he said, one day a guy came along and he said, I can execute every single one of your ideas. And Mr. Wonderful says, okay, cool. How much am I going to pay you? Whatever. And I'm butchering the story a little bit. And the guy comes back and says, no, I want half. And Mr. Wonderful says, what, you want half? You're dead to me, And, but what he realizes is, he says to himself, he says, you know what? Half is better than none. And so he hires this guy to integrate his business on his behalf. And what happens is, boom, he takes off and he's able to successfully execute these initiatives. And I think so many entrepreneurs, so many guys want that success. They want that $1 million business. They want to be at that level. But what they don't want to do is pay the money to get the guy to get it. Mr. Wonderful gave half of his business. Early on in my career, if a guy wanted 60 grand, I'd be like, no, that's more than I'm taking home. A guy wants 100 grand. No, that's more than I'm taking home. Guy wants 200 grand. No, that's more than I'm taking home. Sometimes when you pay the money for the right people, they help you elevate and they take your business to places you could never take it. So if you asked me what success looked like in my mind, one, understand what you're getting into fully. And then two, understand that times are tough and understand how to navigate those waters. And then three, hire the right people to take you where you want to go. And I believe if you follow that, that's the recipe to success.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast episode so far. One of the most consistent things that we hear from people that reach out to us is that buying a franchise feels really confusing. There's so many options out there. It's a scary decision. They don't know how to vet or do the due diligence or really narrow down on the right franchise for them, and then they really feel alone in the process. You might be the only one in your family who's ever pursued buying a franchise or being an entrepreneur, or maybe you've tried to start a side hustle before, or other businesses like me. Like before franchising, I was not able to crack the code on entrepreneurship. I'd like to invite you to reach out and work with us. We've helped many clients buy franchises, get them profitable, or buy resale businesses that are thriving. I'm talking about highly profitable resales, great value. We've allowed many of our clients to actually quit their job right away and replace their income immediately. So if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise, doing due diligence, vetting it, or resale, then go ahead and go to tariqjohnson.com/consulting, and we're happy to see if we can help. All right, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, man, that was so good, and it's so interesting that you spoke about that, because I've been experiencing and living some of that in my business. I just finished a book. You said The Who. Have you read the book Who Not How? Have you heard about that book?
No, I have not.
Oh man, it's I listened to it on Audible. It's great, and it's by it's really good. Just check it out. Who Not How, and the concept is exactly what you're talking about, which is most people are asking themselves, how do I do this in my business? How do I solve this in my business? And what we should really be asking is, who do I need in order to solve this in my business? And at first, like, there's so many excuses that can pop up, right? Because someone may go, well, but David, I'm just starting out. I'm a new franchisee, or like when I'm just starting my franchise business, like I may not have the resources, but it's about really being resourceful. And in these days, if there's I believe that if there's a will, there's a way, right? And I built this business here just using part-time contractors. So I think it's a very, very, very interesting concept. And I'm at the point doing the same thing where I have my operations person, I have my client care person, and now I've delegated things to all the things that I don't want to do. But in the beginning, I had to do some of them. And in the beginning, now that I look back, I go, holy crap, I might have been able to grow twice as fast, 3 times as fast if I would have done this earlier, because I was trying to be a control freak and do it all myself and not realizing like, oh, there's someone who can do this 3 times better than me and they actually enjoy doing it. What an amazing concept.
And that's the key. What you said right there, I think, is the most important thing in the world. They enjoy doing it. They enjoy handling tough situations. They enjoy dealing with the minutia. They enjoy dealing with difficult clients. There's all of these things. And, personality assessments are huge, in that, where you're able to really look at the people and look at their traits and what they can perform. But do they enjoy what they do? And I've got an operations guy, and I love him. And he says, we might bring on a new contract, and he'll be like, oh yeah, man, I'm so excited, ready to go. And you think about years prior, and you'll have people that sit there and they're like, oh God, another contract. Oh, how am I going to execute this? Oh, my world is falling apart. Oh, no more work. And so that's that mentality where they have to love to make that work happen. And I think that when you when you start combining those things like you're talking about, you get this awesome recipe for success, right? That's where you get championship level performance. I'm a sports guy. I love sports, whether it's the Super Bowl or the NBA championship, whatever it is, like that's because a nucleus of people came together, right? It's who Michael Jordan, who LeBron James, who Kobe Bryant, right? Those are game-changing players. And you think about this, and I think this is how I think about it is, you think about the NFL, and you think about the millions of dollars that go into the draft picks. And these draft picks start getting noticed when they're 12, 13, 14. Scouts go out, watch them. They know everything about them. They know, what they're into, what their religion is, when they got into a bar fight. I mean, they know everything about them. And they watch them, and they spend time on them. And they put all that effort and energy into picking those players. And I don't have the exact statistic in front of me, but 75% of the first-round draft pick quarterbacks don't get their contracts renewed after 4 years. And they've spent millions of dollars trying to put who in the right space, right? And for us, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we put an ad out on Indeed, and we're just like, okay, come on, who is it? Who's it going to be? Okay, you talk good? Okay, you can do it. I know you can. I believe in you. You got this. And what happens is we put that person in charge of a multi-million-dollar contract, and they had no business whatsoever being in charge of that contract. And what happens is you lose the contract and you lose the business, and your brand is damaged. And maybe you go out of business, or maybe you stay in business, but you learn this valuable lesson that says paying the right dollar amount for the right person is what's going to take me to the right level. Because what you said, who isn't going to come for free, right? That person who's an expert isn't going to come and work for you for free. And it's not just money, it's also culture, which is a totally different topic. But that's really how I think those things interact with one another.
Yeah, and so you have many different businesses. So how do you, especially with everything that's happened in the last couple of years with the labor shortages, and I think things are starting to revert back, now slowly. But how have you and your businesses been able to, like, what has been some of the strategies to bring in talent, and how do you identify if someone's the right fit outside of just looking at their resume? Like, do you put them through character tests? Is it about just calling their references? Like, what have you found been the best way to not attract, but even just sift through and identify which is the person you should hire?
That's a great question. And I would say that the majority of people today come to us. I would say we do very little hiring that doesn't come in. And I'll just tell you that, like, culture is a big part of my business. So that is huge. And also give back to community is a huge part of my business, right? My mission, my goal is to put $100 million a year into charity. Okay. I may never get there, but that's my goal. And so when I go to business, I want to be invested in the local community. And I'll just give you an example. There's a place called Dawson Place, and Dawson Place, helps children who have been abused, and they help many, many, many children. It's an amazing organization. And I give about $20,000 a year to this organization, and I'm a champion sponsor. And so I'm hiring for some positions, and, people are coming in, and I happen to be shooting a video with my media team, and I'm shooting this video, and we're talking about philanthropy, and we're talking about give back, and why it's important to culture, and why it's important for the local community. And a guy is sitting there, and he's behind the camera, and he says, tears start coming down his face, and he says, "Hey, the reason I'm here is because you give back to that organization, and my family went through that." Wow, right? Wow, chokes you up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that give back brings those people in. He takes a less of a salary or whatever, and he says, "Hey, because I want to work here because of your mission," right? And my mission here is God, family, then business, and that's not for everybody, but that's for me. And so I attract that kind of person, right? Who has that same goal that says this mission is bigger. And so what I find is that when you have a mission that's bigger than your business, when you have that culture embedded in who you are, look at the time that you spend as a CEO, write down the hours or the time that you're spending. And then my goal is to spend 70% of my time on culture, 70% of my time on team every single day. So that's what I'm working on. I'm not in the weeds. I'm not doing operations, or I'm not digging any holes. And so I'm looking to build that culture. And what happens is those people come to you. And when those amazing people who have amazing talents knock on your door and say, hey, are you hiring? Hey, I'd love to come work for you. Hey, I'd love to be a part of this organization. What happens is it changes the game, because now you're not sifting through. Now you're not, we still do the personality test. We still do the interview. But a lot of the times you've got the cream of the crop people in that neighborhood coming to work for you because of what you do in the community. And it can be as simple as being a part of the Boys and Girls Club. Hey, I saw the name of your business, on the baseball jerseys. You must be a pretty good guy. Wow, I'm looking for a new job. And it's just like this amazing ability to attract people, because people want to be different. My mission is change the world. That's what it's all about. So people who work here, they want to change the world. People who don't, they don't. And so that's how I go about that. That's how we bring those top people in today.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. It reminded me of one of I think it was podcast episode number 2 or 3. It was a while ago now. And I was interviewing someone who she owned the entire state of Oklahoma for Orange Theory. And
Okay.
she wound up selling it, but she talked about how as a leader, you attract who you are.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. And when you think about that, it's kind of scary, right? Because then
Yeah.
you go, oh, no wonder why this has been going on. And so yeah, that's such a powerful thing, which is okay. Like if you're just saying, hey, I'm gonna be in my business because I want to make money, I want to make a ton of money, well, you're gonna attract a certain type of person or caliber person who maybe doesn't have any loyalty, right? And maybe it's just purely about the dollars and cents, whether if it's like, hey, yeah, I want to make money, but I want to make an impact, and what we do and how we serve our customers or clients, and then you wind up attracting those people, which is, wow, such an interesting concept. How long did it take you for you to get to that point in your business?
The point of people coming in like that?
Yeah, or just realizing that it's really about, the mission and what you're doing overall, about, how you're attracting people. What, like, did you go 5 or 10 years until you figured it out, or?
Yeah, you know what, man? It took me probably a good 5 years to figure it out. And I mean, like, all entrepreneurs, I haven't been successful all the time. Right? Like,
You mean entrepreneurs fail and can still
do.
succeed after that?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The first business I owned was, I got hit in the Depression, right? That happened to me, and I ended up filing bankruptcy, right? And I did a reformation, and I came back and I rebuilt it, It was hard. It was depressing. But when that depression hit, man, and that's one of the lessons I learned, was I had so many trucks and so many people. I think I had 28, 30 trucks on the road, 115 employees. And when that, tractors and equipment, when that depression hit, it was like nobody was buying work. So what was I going to do with all the equipment? What was I going to do with all the staff? And, I decided right there, okay, man, I'm giving back, right? And that's a thing for me internally, right? That's just for me, it's a God thing, right? Like I started giving $200 a week to the church, whether I could pay myself or not. And that's where it started. And that just opened and softened my heart. And then it was just like, dude, I got to give to more and more and more and more places. And, last year we did 775,000 to charities, 90% of them Christian in nature, but, many others as well, right? And we're changing the world. And it doesn't matter, where it is, because those people are in tough areas doing amazing work. Like we work with this guy Slavic, and all they're doing is they're doing humanitarian stuff, right? They're out there giving food out, giving clothes out, giving blankets out, giving Bibles out, whatever it might be. They're giving those things out on the front lines. He shows us a video of a Russian drone come in, fire a missile at him, and hit a building 100 meters away. And so, like, we're able to do and be a part of these really, really cool things. But all of that happened out of bankruptcy and failure. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, there was times I was laying in bed thinking I should kill myself, like just stressed to the max, right? But I learned, okay, no, give back so that it's something bigger than you, and then hire the best people you can, and don't be afraid to pay them. And I tell that story of, during my bankruptcy, I didn't pay myself for 1 year, but I still had to pay a staff. At one point, I came home and my lights were turned off, right? I had to call my mom and have my mom turn the lights on, right? Grown man with a business can't pay the light bill. But okay, that's a step. Why? What's going on? How are we rebuilding? And in this 26-year journey that I've been on, now you see the success, but it's learning these lessons. That's what I love about franchising, is that you're able to buy a concept from somebody. It doesn't matter if it's me or anybody else. You're able to buy a concept from somebody who's put it in the box. And I imagine that if I would have known what a franchise was when I started my business and I would have bought one, I probably would have been 10,000 times more successful, because somebody's already built the box. I don't have to think outside of it. All I have to do is follow the steps that are in place. All of those learning lessons that I had to learn along the way that I paid millions of dollars for. As a franchisee, you get that. It's not saying every system's perfect. Every system has issues. Every system has holes. Every system has things that can be done better. Every franchisor is working to make those things better. But at the end of the day, you have something to fall back on. And most importantly, you have a cheerleader. Because when it's dark and it's tough and times aren't going right, you want someone that's got your back that says, man, I've been here and here's what you should do. And by the way, we got your back. And by the way, we're going to support you. And by the way, you're doing okay. And by the way, this is just a normal business. So these ups and downs, they're just normal. Don't get freaked out, right? So that's what I love about franchising. And I think that it takes you on this journey that's really exciting and painful too, right? Like, I mean, I've had some of the greatest moments in my life in business and some of the worst.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I know that was a super long answer to that question, but I figured I'd just lay it out there for you.
Yeah, I loved all of it. And yeah, that's a really great point, because for me in the beginning, franchise was just a means to an end, right? Which is I desperately wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had tried to start so many businesses on my own, clothing line, landscaping business, many, many other dead ideas outside of that. And it was hard. And it's just really hard. And that's why I've really grown to love franchising, because of you saying, yeah, I call it a business in a box, right? You're saying, yeah, you get the box. Yeah. And if now we have people that reach out to us that are already entrepreneurs that have been successful, or they just sold their company, sold their business. They reach out and say, hey, like we're looking at getting in a franchise. Like, interesting. Like, I'm curious why? I mean, you built a successful business. Why are you looking at franchising now? They're like, I don't want to have to figure it all out again. I like the idea of going after a proven model. And it's so interesting. There are over 4,000 franchises, in the United States alone. There's something for everyone. And, if someone's never been an entrepreneur before, like, what better way to give yourself the opportunity to actually succeed by leveraging a proven model and system first, where you don't have to figure it all out. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Doesn't mean you can't, I think sometimes people get caught up like, well, but what if I want to start something after? You can start your franchise, totally. Learn how to run the business. And then that's what I did after failing 6, 7 businesses. did my franchise business and took that, was able to now grow this business because of what I was able to learn in the franchise concept. So yeah, I do really love franchising.
I do too. You know what? I think it's awesome. And it's the thing is, like, there's just so many little things you don't think of. It's the support calls. It's the one-on-ones. It's understanding your P&L. It's understanding your balance sheet. It's understanding assets versus liabilities. It's understanding all these little things that, when you're in business for yourself, you don't think of, right? All of these little hidden expenses, marketing expenses, advertising expenses. Hey, if the guy from View Local, I'm just making that up, I don't know if any View Local, calls me and says, hey, for $10,000 a month, I can drive unlimited leads into your business, that might not be the best thing for you to do. It might not produce anything, but your franchisor has already been through so many of these things and they can point you in the right direction. And so it's just having that coach, man. And you're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think for me, it's just having somebody next to me saying, you can do it. Okay, I can. You can do it. I can.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that, David, is that outside of the actual concept, of the franchise, when I was a franchisee, you know what I really needed the most was structure and accountability. The system helped, but I had great ideas. I had started making money in business, but the fact that, like, I had to sign a lease, right? And in my case, I was in a retail business. I had to sign a 10-year commercial lease. Like, once it's signed, it's like, oh shit, I'm in. That's it. Like, there's no looking back. Like, yes, I could sell it, right? It's like, once you sign a franchise agreement, you have a 10-year agreement, typically. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you could sell it and, transfer your license, but now you're in, you have something you're committed to. And then there's a structure. Hey, David, we have franchisee calls every whatever, right? Or you're going to have your onboarding training, and we're going to put you through a structured process. And so it's like, outside of just even the whole system, it's the intangibles that made the biggest difference for me personally.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even, U.S. Lawns, right? I'm not affiliated with U.S. Lawns at all, but I know that one of the things they do in the morning as a franchise is, like, they tell that owner, hey, pick up and do 10 commercial dials, right? Just that structure of, you do 10 commercial dials, you'll get 1 lead. You do that 5 times a week, you'll get 5 estimate leads. Out of that, if your close rate is 20%, you'll close 1 job a week. If you close 1 job a week, you'll close 52 jobs in a year. Whatever it is, those little systems, those little processes that you don't pick up on, that you don't know about, that take you maybe a decade to figure out, really help launch your business. And in being in business for a long time and meeting and working with many different guys, one thing I've kind of learned is, like, well, I've heard this from many people. Well, I was in business for about 10 years, and it took me about 10 years to make $1 million, and it took me 9 years to make $1 million. It took me 12 years. But once I got to $1 million, it was like it just took off. And that's because they took all that time to learn. And the beautiful thing about a franchise concept is you've got the box right there. So you didn't have to take 9-10 years to learn through mistakes and trials and suffer. You got all of that information up front. You got the structure. You got the accountability. You got the coaching. You got the support. And so basically it level sets you really, really fast. And so I believe in any franchise, I don't care if it's Subway, McDonald's, Transblue, U.S. Lawns, it doesn't matter to me. It's you are going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, so as we close, and I agree, it's all about what you put into it, 100%. So as we close, who's for Transblue? Like, who's your ideal candidate? Someone's saying, okay, look, I want to be a franchisee looking at Transblue. It's not, sometimes people get caught up in the, like, oh yeah, like, if I go to the franchisor, they're going to approve everyone. Wrong, not true. They don't. Right. But, like, who's the ideal candidate for you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, for us, it's somebody from, a more of an executive type background, right? Somebody who knows how to manage people, so on and so forth. But really somebody who's, and we use Culture Index, so they've got that strong D, they've got that, they've got real attention to detail. So just really, really detailed. And I think that's the one thing that I think is so important in franchising is just the details, the details, the details. As a business owner, are my P&Ls on time? Are the guys checking in on time? Whatever it is going on, just being really focused on those details and then being just driven, man. Just, like, hey, we might shoot for the moon and we might miss it. We might miss it. But, maybe we'll hit a star along the way. I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky and hit a satellite. I don't know. We'll hit something on our way up there. You know what I mean? And we'll have a good time. And that's the other thing. It's just people who want to have a good time. We all know grinders. You've met grinders in your life. I've met grinders in mine. We don't want any grinders. We just want people who want to have a good time, who enjoy life and want to have a high quality of life. And I think that's just the simple thing. Like I said in the beginning, I don't want to work with people I don't like. I don't want to sell franchises to people I don't like either. You know what I mean? Like I want to just, cool, let's have a good time. We can enjoy life and hang out and we can do our thing.
I love it. Well, if people want to learn more about Transblue, we'll link it up in the in the comments and description. Yeah. But where should they go? And if they want to follow you and your content, I know you're on a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. Then how can they stay in tune with following you?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on LinkedIn, Dave Wescott, David Westcott. Follow me on Facebook, Dave Wescott, David Westcott. Follow me there. Check out transbluefranchise.com. If you're interested in that, send me a direct message on LinkedIn or Facebook, any one of those. Hit me up, and I'd love to chat.
Awesome. All right, man.
Cool.
It was good talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. You're welcome.